right. It says we are live. So what I'm going to do real quick is I'm going to go and open another tab, and I'm going to go to Patreon just to double check and make sure. Let's see. Let's go to my page. I don't want to be in the donor page. There we go. All right. Hit play. Nope, that's not it. Or what's going on? Newest one? Well, Farfig Nugan. Okay. It says it's going there. Posts. Scheduled. Spycraft. Yeah, there it is.
Up in the top it says live. So
Yep. We're streaming live to YouTube.
Okay.
But it's unlisted, so no one's seeing it. But anyway, so let's just do this. Let's just go for it. Because I want to talk to you about this thing with the International Space Station. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, Jim Goodall. For those that didn't know, but you probably saw the YouTube or the Facebook. And here we are. He'll be a regular on the show. And oh, by the way, this is the Doc Force, and I'm Doc Skinner, if you didn't know. So, you were talking about a lot of the planes you worked on and some cool stories. Let's move a little forward. Let's get to some of the more edgier stuff, because I know what you've been doing with the Cousins brothers, talking about like the Tic Tacs and all kinds of other crap that have been out there. How do you, let me get this out of the way. I wanted to ask you about the International Space Station. So the head of the Russian space agency, who is a former astronaut, basically says when the Soy rocket goes up there to get their guys, and they were supposed to get the American too, that they said that they threatened to leave him up there. And that's scary shit right there. So, I mean, I'm sure the guy would be able to survive just a little bit till Elon could come and save the day, because you know he will. He's like our Batman when you think about it, you know. And what's your thoughts on that? I mean, because Kelly came out and he was like, this, you know, bullshit. I mean, he says, I don't do this. I don't come out in public and get into negative conversations with people, but this was bull. And they were like, well, he's the head of the NASA space or the Russian space agency. He was like, so, you know, what are your thoughts on that? I mean,
first of all, you know, we live in a world of laws. A lot of them don't apply to the left, but that's neither here nor there. But there's international laws, and they're contractually obligated to bring some astronauts up and then bring them back. Now, if this happened a year ago, the beginning of the Biden disaster, I still don't think it would have any teeth, because Elon Musk, I mean, he can almost launch on command. You know, some of the Falcon 9 rockets now have 10, 11, 12 flights on them, and they're still good. They're still usable. So if during an emergency, he could probably get a Falcon 9 up with his Dragon capsule in 24 hours, 48 hours, maybe pushing out 96 at the worst case. Elon Musk is not a man to shortchange at all. I mean, he's proven that, you know, time and again.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it was this morning or yesterday they launched the rocket, the big rocket, or some big rocket, and the guy that from Russia who said what he said, he also says, see what you can do without our Russian rocket, engines that we get, we sell you. And he goes, let's see how far you get on those broomsticks. So either it was yesterday or this morning when this launch happened, the lady that does the countdown, she's like, this is the launch of the so and so rocket, blah blah blah. Or no, they didn't call it the rocket; they called it the broomstick, and then they said "Go America," because there was no Russian engine on board. It was Elon's stuff. So
But I mean, the Russians are trying to rattle the cage. They said we won't sell you any more of the engines used primarily in the Atlas, uh, the heavy duty Atlas launches, and we don't need them. We bought enough to do everything we needed until a new engine was available uh, 15 years ago. We
mhm.
were, they right around, somewhere in the the early 2000s, they started planning on the fact, and they bought a bunch.
And that's what was actually mentioned today in the news as a rebuttal back to him was that he goes, "How are you going to do without our Russian engines?" And he was like, "Oh, we've got them stockpiled in Kentucky. We're good."
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they did. They bought a bunch of them.
yeah. I mean, I forget how many. I mean, it was a lot of launches, and that's hard currency for the Russians. They're cutting their nose off to spite their face. With everything locking Russia down right now. Uh, I think Vlad stepped on his dick on this one. I mean, the Russian Air Force, where's it at? They've launched 124 airplanes or 125 airplanes. Their uh, top line fighters are gone. It's reported that the ship that fired on those guys on Skull Island,
Never
when they
happened.
said,
They
yeah,
said,
F you, they
yeah.
said, we got it. I mean, not we, the Ukrainians got it. And I mean,
Well, speaking of
go on.
Ukraine, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just letting you have it.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Speaking of Ukraine, there's the whole thing that us nut jobs were talking about the bioweapon lab, all labs throughout the Ukraine, and it was all poppycock and nonsense and Russian conspiracy. And then this woman in Congress, the Defense Department, says, yes, we have multiple labs in the Ukraine that are studying biological stuff, and we don't want Russians to get their hands on it. So she admitted it, and now it's out there. And so, it's I have someone sent me this, Amanda, the one that helped us out today with a nice donation. She said, sent me this article. It says connection in the CDC by 311 expect massive news public announcement. As of this weekend, almost all employees of the CDC know that the vax causes VAIDS. That's vaccine induced autoimmune disease syndrome, or the new HIV crisis, as has been 100% scientifically confirmed. They are demanding that the CDC leadership makes major public news conference announcements by March 10th, which was supposed to be today, stating this, or the employees will whistleblow to the news agencies everywhere by March 11th. Get ready for a shock to the system like never seen before. CDC just released this HIV cluster detection and response. Coincidentally, all the HIV and AIDS stuff popping up after the vax. Um, I read that wrong at the end. I'm sorry. I'm like dyslexic for a moment. So yeah, we're just being shown over and over again that we're being lied to. Even the newscasters are coming up and saying stuff like in the Ukraine, we saw it, we thought it was real, and we aired it, but we were bamboozled as well. And you've heard the stories how some of these footages that they were showing of planes being shot down were actually PS4 game animation that were in games, and
Yeah.
major news publications were putting this out there. Now, um, there's also been rumored that, well, it's not rumored, but there was like a video that's out there somewhere of some, what do you call them, local fighters that said that there was an attack from a triangle craft that they said was like a UFO, and that there was a huge devastation because of this craft. It somehow did a pulse or something. um Do you think the TR-3B is quietly being used in this conflict?
Well, it's assuming it's ours.
Well, I mean, are we not the only country that has access to TR-3Bs or alien replica vehicles?
No, but I have to believe, even though the former Soviet Union is all but bankrupt, Vlad is not helping at all in his
Yeah.
little venture into the Ukraine. Um, I just have a hard time. Uh, and my mind just went blank. I don't know where in the hell it went to. It fell out. Just a
TR.
second. It's on the floor. It's on
Hold
the floor.
on. I'll let you pick it up. Go ahead and get it. There we go.
Yeah.
TR-3Bs
I
in
and
conflict.
I mean, my mind is usually going in about 10 or 15 different directions at any given time anyway.
Right.
Um,
Because
I believe the Russians had probably the same or similar opportunities we had to recover craft. I
mhm,
don't know if they have an S4. Uh, China's a big place, and
mhm.
so is Russia.
Russia, yeah, two of the
I mean, it's
biggest,
huge.
and
The
lots of land to have
There's
stuff, or if not underground.
11 time zones in the former Soviet Union, but
Mhm.
no, I mean, like they used to say, our German scientists are better than their German scientists. This is after the war, when we were trying to develop the ICBM, and eventually, uh,
Operation Paperclip.
yeah,
Yeah.
and to go after Sputnik, and I think we did. I
Mhm.
still don't know why they canceled Apollo 18, 19, and 20. Maybe we'll never know. Maybe
Right.
we're told not to come back. Maybe we're not very good guests.
Yeah, we did leave a lot of shit on the ground.
Yes, we did. Yeah, yeah. No,
So
I think the Russians has had the mental capacity and the capability, and they don't have the Congress do-gooders like the squad. Uh, I look at them. I spent 27 years of my life defending this country. So that woman, that low life, I just I don't know. I just get infuriated. But
hey, you don't have to restrain yourself here. That's the whole point of this site.
yeah,
So
yeah,
a little more
yeah,
freedom than the other sites.
yeah. In 2019, I was of the 12 months I was in Facebook jail. Almost 5 full months.
You were like a young, scrappy military guy. You in and out of the pub fights and stuff, but
Yeah.
online. I'm just glad you're still around. So we can share stuff with you.
Yeah, yeah. And now if the triangular shaped craft, it's not ours, I'm talking about made of this earth, to quote
Okay.
a Pentagon spokesman here a while back.
Hmm.
Uh, maybe they're watch. They don't want they will not allow it to go nuclear.
Right. Because it's been known, Major Ed Dames, that was head of the remote viewing team. He would talk. Sorry,
Can't hear you. He went.
there we go. I hit the wrong wire. Shit, what were we saying? That was so dramatic. It just happened.
I've been smoking too much tonight. I
Oh
can't
no, no,
remember.
now you're mute.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I can't hear you.
You can't hear me.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Shoot, what happened?
What happened? You touched
Okay.
something.
This time I'm gonna go first because I messed it up last time. Here we go. I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it
You
figured
got
out. Here
it?
we go. There we go. Yes, sir. When it nudged the wire on top, it reset it, and so I had to go back into settings and fix it. Anyway, that's live streaming. So, anyway, what is the most in all of your research, being a historian of aircraft, spycraft? To this day, what have you learned? What have you seen? What have you seen, documentation on, or prints or pictures or whatever? What's probably the coolest spy Star Wars type vehicle you're aware of that you could get away with saying?
I mean, I don't hold anything back.
Hmm.
Nothing. Yeah, it doesn't do any good to have it all up here and not share it with the world.
Right?
So if I hear something or see something, yeah, I'm going to say something. I'm just like the posters say, but
See something, say something.
yeah, see something, say something. No, I will. I won't keep anything back. And one of the things that I was excited to do. I was in the Pentagon in a vault during Desert Shield and Desert Storm,
Hmm.
and my job as an Air Force historian, my job was to read every single message to and from CENTCOM. This
Wow.
include eyes only stuff just for the president.
Hmm.
Uh, and stuff that, I mean, very very limited distribution. But regardless of who was for, if Schwarzkopf saw it, and was it Colin Powell the
Yeah.
Secretary of Defense at the time?
Well, he was
If
around with Colin. Yeah.
Yeah, if he's or maybe he's Secretary of State, if he saw it, I saw it.
Wow.
The same with Schwarzkopf. So every morning I would go through all the aircraft call signs and all the aircraft types. They have 3,000, and I'd go through, and I would look for things that I didn't recognize,
Yeah.
and I didn't. Unless it was beyond top secret, I didn't see a thing. In the entire 121 days I was there, I saw absolutely nothing that wasn't already public knowledge.
Hmm.
And that disappointed the hell out of me. I wanted to
Yeah.
see I wanted to see a designation TR3B or
Right.
something.
Well, what do you think about the fact that the patent for it, and
Don't touch that thing.
yeah, it got out there, and it was the Belgian Triangle, and then people started realizing. I think the X-Files is what really blew the lid off of it, when they called it an alien replica vehicle. And I want to. That's the book I want you to do, is on the TR3B. Um,
I have to find someone who has some documentation on it and
mhm,
or high resolution photos. What I mean, there were when I was on, I saw some imagery. Was it last week? And I mean, and I don't know how in the hell I got into this cycle. I'm for some reason I'm popular, and I have no idea why. But other than I've been around for a long time, uh, but until we have some high resolution imagery. I mean, something taken close up with one of the newer or the newest of the smartphones,
mhm.
um, or like myself with a good old Nikon with a good piece of glass in there and get some real fine detail of what this craft is like. And until that happens, you really, all we can do is we can guesstimate. And as more and more people out there are starting to look up. I mean, I'm amazed at the number of people I know that never look to the sky. I go
Right.
outside every night, and I mean, I live in Arizona, southern Arizona. We have no light pollution at all in Oro Valley. You've been there, Doc.
Yeah.
And where you live, you don't have much either, and you're in much higher altitude. But there's no street lights, nothing. So you always get great viewing. And I go out every night, and the yard lights go off at about 10:30, and I go out there and I'll sit and I'll just look. And I say, "All right, you bastards," I said, "I'm here. Take me. I'm yours."
Right.
And So far that hasn't worked, or if it has, I have no idea. I have no recollection of it unless it's a
Right.
zapped you with the what nebulizer, is that what it's called?
Nebulizer gun.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know. That sounds familiar. Nebulizer gun, but
yeah,
or something from Men in Black, or is
yeah,
that the thing that zaps and gets rid of your memory?
yeah. It gets rid of your
Nebulizer.
memory. Yeah,
That's where I've heard it. Okay,
yeah,
yes. And I was talking about that. Well, we'll keep that in the wraps. But
yeah.
um, wow,
No, I mean
yeah,
it's very possible
that you've been
uh,
zapped.
that they reported the reported triangle shape over the Ukraine. Uh, if it's not ours, I don't think it would be as a Russian. They have the capability brain wise, but I don't know if they don't have the freedom to they don't have the freedom to fail. That
Hmm,
happens, and you and your whole extended family ends up in Siberia in some mine somewhere.
not good.
And so you don't have any incentive to step outside the lines, and that's what I've always been guilty of. I have a hard time playing in the box. I got to step
Right.
outside the lines, and it still affects me today. My TI back in basic training, uh, and it's about to be my 60th anniversary on the 27th of this month of joining the United States Air Force. Wow, I didn't think it was
Wow.
that soon. But
Wow.
he said, "Goodall, you have everything going for you but your mouth." And I've lived with that curse my entire life.
Well,
But
I mean, because you step outside the lines. Speaking of outside the lines, the story I will always remember. I remember a lot of your stories, but my favorite one is the one where you were at Area 51 by the border, and you guys get stopped. It's my favorite story.
I
I
mean
just
the one when I was with Lear,
yeah, yeah, you and
but
John.
I was in the fence. I was at the fence line at Tonopah Test Range, which is just around the corner. It's the north end of the Nevada test, the Nellis Range. But it's 11 o'clock at night, 11:15 at night. The infamous John Lear and I are at the fence line at Tonopah Test Range. Uh, it had gone into supposed caretaker status when the F-117s left, and they put another perimeter fence around it, which means something hotter is flying out of there. So we're out there, we're in our lawn chairs, which is one of the things you need on the desert. You don't want to sit on the ground and have the scorpions crawl up your pant leg. So you also tape your pant leg with some duct tape just to
Right.
make sure. And both have night vision goggles, and we see three armored personnel carriers. One coming up. We're on the north side of the fence. It's an east-west fence.
Okay.
And coming from the south is an armored personnel carrier, one from the left, one from the west and one from the east. And down on and it's called BLM, Bureau of Land Management or Public Lands. On the public land side, we see a vehicle coming as well. So I stand up real loud, and yell real loud, "Hey, we're good guys, we're taxpayers." And all of a sudden, poof, we had floodlights on us. John had three little red dots in his chest, and I had three little red dots in my chest. And some guy walks around John Lear's pickup truck with his hand on his 9mm and said, "You're in a restricted area, and I'm ordering you to leave." And I said, "Sir, we're in public lands, and I'll need your permission." "Yes, you're in this restricted area." So I pulled out my government printed aeronautical map that gives the longitude and latitude of the restricted area to the second. And I said, "If you look at the base of that fence post over by my buddy over there, there's a USGS medallion
Which is like a
that
big,
gives,
big flat nail that tells them the elevation and the location, right?
yeah, and that gives the longitude and latitude to the second. And we're in public lands, and I can be here for 15 consecutive days without anybody's permission. I
Wow.
want to see some ID." And I said, "Well, who are you?" "So I'm Captain So and so with ASI," and that stood for Advanced Security Inc., or the contract security at Tonopah Test Range.
Hmm.
As that, they do not have jurisdiction outside the restricted area. They can harass you, but they don't have any jurisdiction. they have to call the Lincoln Nye or Esmeralda County
The
Sheriff.
sheriff's department. Yeah.
Yeah. So he said, I want to see some ID. I said, well, I'm going to see yours first. So he hands me, I said, you show me yours, I'll show you mine. So
Hmm.
he hands me his ASI badge. I looked at it and I said, sir, this is not a valid form of ID. I need something issued by the state or federal government. And you can just see the veins popping on his head. I mean, he's getting pissed. We still have the red dots on us.
Hmm.
So he begrudgingly hands me his Nevada driver's license. I didn't have my reading glasses on it, so okay, fine. I lived in Minnesota at the time. Lear lived in on Hollywood Boulevard there in Las Vegas. Hands him to him. He hands him to a guy on the south side of the fence. He goes over to probably the supervisor's armored personnel carrier, and I see the interior light turn on, and I hear, "Oh shit! It's Goodall and Lear." And the lights went off. The red dots went away. Uh, they knew
Oh.
they weren't. They knew they weren't going to intimidate us out of the area.
Hmm.
And they also know we don't break the law. We push it.
Right.
I mean, I've been 3 or 4 miles inside Area 51, and I was an absolute nervous wreck.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So
I mean, but it's, you really got to get in there deep if you really want to see something, because they have it to where you got all those hills and terrain that blocks your view, don't they?
when Kelly Johnson asked Dorsey Kammer and Tony LeVere, they had a Twin Beach there at Burbank, said, I want you to go out and scout the desert Southwest. I want a remote area with a dry lake bed,
Hmm.
but it has to be away from civilization. So they went to a number of places in Southern California, primarily the Mojave Desert, and they went in some areas in Utah, I think a couple in Arizona. But where they found some interest, Mud Lake outside of Tonopah was one of the places that they had thought was a good place. But then they found Groom Dry Lake or Groom Lake,
Hmm.
and they landed. I mean, you talk about desolate. Apparently, during the 1940s, it was an emergency landing site for training aircraft during World War II, and it was referred to as Watertown Strip. But when they landed there, I guess the dust on the lake bed was pretty deep on that particular day. And they looked around, and they're surrounded by mountains all the way around.
Hmm.
No towns anywhere near. Rachel wasn't even a thought back in 1954, 55 timeframe.
Okay. That's
So
yeah,
they
Rachel,
flew back.
Nevada.
Yeah, they flew back to Burbank. Briefed Kelly. Said, okay, the next day they jumped in the Twin Beach and they flew to Groom Lake. And one of the reasons why it's called Area 51, I'll get into that in just a little bit, but they landed and first of all, they circled the area. It's in the northeast part of the Nevada test site where they test above ground and then eventually below ground nuclear weapons. But it's Kelly felt he was too isolated. This is too far in the middle of nowhere. And but they said they finally decided that this is so remote that they could fly almost anything in here, like a Hindenburg or whatever, and no one
Right.
would know it. So it became they got some they took apart 3 large hangars from the Hawthorne Naval Ammunition Facility, Hawthorne, Nevada, about 100
Okay.
miles north of Tonopah. And they moved those down. They took the hangars apart, dismantled them, brought them all down, re-erected them, and then
That's
built a
cool.
number of. Pardon?
I said that's cool. I didn't know. I thought it was all new stuff, but
Oh no,
they were
no,
working with what they had.
they had a fairly they had it. They couldn't order from from the local hangar catalog,
Right.
3 big hangars to house, whatever.
Uh-huh.
Uh,
But it's
but
a good
they,
idea. Just say, "Oh, don't worry. You want that taken down? We'll take it down for you. We'll trash it." And then they just.
well, for example, they needed a Blackbird hangar at Diego Garcia in the middle of the Indian Ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than going through the process of procuring a new one, which would take forever, they dismantled, because every Blackbird had its own hangar. They dismantled one of the hangars, put it on a probably on a ship, and brought it to Diego Garcia and built and re-erected it. So it saved money. It also removed any paper trail for hangars being built, new hangars being ordered. Well, gee, where
Right.
did they go? They were,
Right.
general delivery in Las Vegas would be the real answer.
Mm-hmm.
But they came in there, and their initial cadre, all that where you stayed, because there were some guys that were there for 6-7 weeks, had no way to get hold of family members in either direction. They mailed general delivery in Las Vegas, and someone would pick it up once a day and bring in letters. But they had to be, the censors had to look at them, or the security people had to look at them. Yeah, at the time, the U-2 was as classified as anything out there, and they had uh, everybody had at the time they had trailers. I think everybody had their own trailer, but then they had a mess hall.
Mm-hmm.
Now during the early part of the U-2 program, where guys were going, weeks, maybe almost a couple months, sometime without being able to be in direct contact with family members, and some of them, wives were expecting, or kids were graduating, or whatever.
Yeah.
So a dear friend, his name Bill Fox. Foxy just passed away. He spent, of his 35 years at Skunk Works, he spent 10 full years at Area 51,
Wow.
and he was
So
on
so Skunk Works isn't at Area 51?
they flight test most of their programs at Area 51, but the Skunk Works was at Burbank Airport up until they moved to Palmdale here about 15 years ago, 18 years ago, and
Hmm.
they've torn down all the Lockheed California structures that were at the airport there, Burbank. So no, the Skunk Works, it's physically located in Palmdale, California, at Site 10 of Air Force Plant 42,
Okay.
and I mean, you can drive past it every day. It's right off the Sierra Highway, and I think Avenue M, I think it is.
Hmm.
So it's
And it's so crazy how it's so top secret, but yet main elements of Area 51 are in plain sight, like Janet Airlines. You know, you can
oh
just
yeah,
drive right past the gate where they get on the plane to go to Area 51 every day.
yeah, and there's Janet flights from Palmdale. There's Janet flights from Las Vegas. There's Janet flights from Hill Air Force Base. Now they don't necessarily all go into Area 51. They go into Tonopah for sure, several times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some spooky activity in and around Dugway in Utah, which is south of the Great Salt Lake. And there's a rumored facility that was clandestinely built, like TTR was built. That supposedly it's in the extreme northeast corner of Nevada. It's a 90-minute. All I know is it's a 90-minute drive from Twin Falls.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's from
Mhm.
one side of town or the other, or what route they took. They
'Cause
probably came down. They probably came down 93 to Jackpot, and then there's roads. And if you look at Google Earth, that part of Nevada is just multiple colors of green pixelation. There's no resolution or detail in some of the areas there.
Wow. Do you think? Do you? There's a lot of talk about how things have been moved out of Area 51. Now the new Area 51 is possibly
Oh,
in Utah.
that was something that the editor at Popular Mechanics wrote a number of years ago. So I went to the gate, and there was a rusty lock on it, and it looked like it had been used forever. Well, he was at a cattle corralling
Like,
area.
okay,
Uh,
like a cattle crossing where they have the cattle rails in the ground.
Yeah, no, no, where they may where they just it's open range out there, so they gather them all together and put them in an area, and that's they can haul them off, to the slaughterhouse or to whomever, move them to a different part of the open range. Um, so he said, "Oh yeah, Area 51's closing down," and to answer that's bullshit. He said, "Done the I have shots taken at Christmas Day in 2020. Some guy flew around Area 51. And supposedly he worked for the FAA, and they would allow on certain day weekends for a certain window. They
That
will
you could
allow
fly
they will
around it
allow
at least.
they'll allow you to fly south of area. You can't. I don't think you can't penetrate the perimeter of Area 51. It's an
Correct.
invisible wall,
Yes.
but you can fly around it. And he had a Nikon, I think it's a P1000 shooting,
Yeah,
which
those are
is
great. I want to
yeah,
get one
but
of
it's
those.
but they need some with a Nikon 850 with a real expensive piece of glass, so so you can count the rivets on the on the push cart in the
Right.
back corner of the hangar as you
But
look
yeah,
through it.
yeah. I mean, you can't fly over. It's restricted airspace, but I'm all the way to space. But if you got high enough around that perimeter with a camera like that, you could probably get some really good shots.
Yeah, well, you'd have to do on a cool day because once the heat starts,
Everything gets wobbly.
yeah, you get all that heat distortion.
Hmm.
So
Well, we still got to go do an adventure together.
well, now we're with Dave Scott and crew, and there's about 15 or 20 of us are going to Las Vegas April 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. We're going to be at the Gold Nugget.
Okay,
And
I've been
it's
there.
gonna be pardon?
I've been there. That's where I met Ed Dames, Major Ed Dames.
Oh, okay. So this is something is this going to be it's open to the public to come in on Saturday for a Q&A. You have a question? We're going to have everybody here that can answer that question.
Sweet,
Yeah, so
sweet.
it'll be fun. It'll be fun. And I like to say I'm in my element with you guys. Us guys, I guess you'd call it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I feel like it's not military, but I feel like we're in a squadron together. You know,
yeah, in a way. I mean, uh, Doc was at our house. When was that? It was before.
it was it was with when the brothers were in town.
Yeah, I'm trying to think when
A
that was. Well, we
couple
had
months
the
ago.
yeah we had the Doc came down from the mountain, Rim Country, and we had the cousin brothers at the house. They were here for 4 days,
Hmm.
and I didn't realize that John DeSosa lives 2 blocks from my house.
Yeah,
I mean,
that
he's
was
gone most of the time,
we
but
we were all getting in the cars and we're like planning a road trip. And we type in the address and it was like 12 houses that way. No way.
yeah, I mean, it's you go down. I mean, it's the
Your
second. I
neighbors.
think it's the
No, no,
second
no.
left.
Don't give away too much. Don't give away too much.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I can walk it as long. I mean, as long as it took to load the car and which way we're going, I could have walked most
Walked
of the
it.
way
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So it was
So
it was very serendipity.
we had a delightful afternoon at John and Bella's. Bella's
Hmm.
just a sweetie pie.
Oh yeah, she
Uh,
is. She's a
yeah,
great hostess. I mean, they both are. They're just so
yeah,
generous and kind.
yeah,
Um,
and he's had a couple talks here in town I've been to, and it's again I just there's something about this group that I find comfortable,
yeah,
and maybe I've been looking for it all my life, and this is I finally found a home.
yeah.
It's about damn time. I mean, shit, I've been through what wife 4 wives and actually 3.5 because the Antichrist didn't she didn't count. It was only 5 years and. My first wife and I, we were married 20 years. We've been divorced 30 years. And I think we're better friends now than we ever were when we were married.
Yeah.
I, and say number two was the Antichrist. I wasn't really married to her, but I was committed relationship for 5 years,
Mm,
and it was like running into a going 100 miles an hour in a car with no airbags, no seat belts, no collapsible steering wheel, and you run right into a mountain, granite mountain that they've shoved it off so it's perfectly
wow.
flat so you don't ricochet off at 100 miles an hour. The first 20 or 30 times that happens, it's kind of a rush, but then it gets kind of boring. So that was my punishment. I had to be my fun. And then I was married to the fraud for 10 years. And she took me to the cleaners. And I'm married to a sweet woman now. You've met her.
Yes, you are.
And this has been a traumatic week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
My wife was diagnosed with a brain tumor. And 2 weeks ago, she had a brain aneurysm. And we had to go in for emergency brain surgery. They did get the tumor intact,
Yeah.
but it really hit her hard. So,
And it's
but
been rough on you guys.
yeah, we were just at Banner today, and the doctors are very, very pleased the way she's come, turning around. So, I've been a little bit scatterbrained for for so far most of this year
Yeah.
because we found out that she had a brain tumor was early January,
Hmm.
but we also know that she had a spot on her lung. She had kidney cancer. Kidney was removed in 2019. They took the whole kidney, and so it's been a tense week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, month.
Yeah.
Seems like it's been going on forever. But every day she's twice as good she was the day before, so she gets better every day. She's not on a walker; she's with a cane, and I'm gonna have to take the cane away from her because I know she's gonna start hitting me with it. You're not supposed to. Come over here. Yeah,
The doctor told me I had to take a cane.
yeah, yeah.
You need to
And
work on walking.
normally I have a guest come in here named Scarlett. Doc has met Scarlett.
Hmm.
She's our German Shepherd rescue,
Yeah.
and she's just a stitch. She's just a beautiful girl, long haired or coated German Shepherd, 60 pounds. And the only word she responds to are treat seeds. You want treat seeds, Scarlett? And then she perks up. Other than that, she's just a happy girl.
Yeah. Well, um, let's see here. We've just been going and going. I like that. What we're gonna do is we did a good 42, 43 minutes. That's good. Um, I'm gonna call here because what I need to do is I have to download this video, then upload it back up to Patreon because we had a glitch and it didn't sync. So, um, but yeah, this is fun. We're gonna do this again and again. All right.
Yep, yep. Sounds good. Sounds good.
So appreciate you.
Well, no, if I'm available, I would with limited notice. The only thing I'd have to do is clear it with Rosemary, and since we're
Right.
not going anywhere because she still hurts and she has no energy at all.
Yeah. Well,
So,
we'll call it. We'll call it a night, and you go rub her feet.
all right, sounds good. You take care,
I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon. You have a good
and
night.
it, and it's always a pleasure,
Oh,
Doc.
wait. Hold on.
But
We got it. We got Paul, Reba, and James are three paid Patreons here on Patreon. So can you say hello to them real quick? Paul, Reba, and James.
was Paul? What was it?
Paul,
What was it?
Paul, and then Reba, and
Reba,
yeah, Reba, and then James Forsyth, or just James.
James Forsyth.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to my world. It's kind of a weird place to hang out, but it is what it is. It's gotten me this far, so I just
Yeah.
assume that it'll get me the rest of the way.
Well, hopefully
So
next time I'll have all the bells and whistles, and then we'll have more interaction with the viewers. It's just it did not want to quit
anytime,
tonight.
anytime. I say the only thing that I'm tied up on the 20th and on the 15th, 20th of March,
Okay.
and the 6th of April. Other than
Well,
that, I have.
I'll call you and we'll schedule it.
Oh yeah, Yeah.
So
And until I know there will be no snow at all up in your neck of the woods, I'm not coming up.
oh no, I'm looking at an inch of snow right now out of nowhere that happened while we were on the show.
Oh, really?
There's now like it looks like maybe half or inch. But
I'm
anyway,
I'm gonna have to quit driving like a madman because I'm going on a road trip and I'm gonna be going through California, which is gonna be god awful. Yeah, I'm giving a talk on the blackbirds at
sweet.
Beale Air Force Base, and it'll be all the senior officers and senior NCOs. Their blackbirds last flew out of Beale Air Force Base in 1991, and that seems like it was yesterday, but that was
Mm,
31 years ago. Guys
yeah,
have gone in the Air Force, did their 25 or 20, got out and retired, have been out and retired for 5 years, 6 years, and they never saw a blackbird fly. So I'm going to go in
right.
there and give a presentation. Basically, it's my book on a presentation, and I'm
Nice.
going to go through and tell them what I think it's part of Air Force history.
Hmm.
They want people to be aware of it. So I'm hoping they like what I have to present,
I'm sure they will.
and I
I'm
said
sure they will.
I can answer any question you have as far as history goes. Now, as far as some of the operational stuff, I may not know it, but if I know it, I'll tell you. If I don't know it, I'll tell you I don't know it. And I
Hmm.
said absolutely, and nothing I'm saying is classified. And I'm sure that's one of the first things I'm going to say. By the way, I'm going to talk about programs at the time during they were operational, whatever. They were probably as classified as they get.
Yeah.
I mean, the drone program, the Blackbird drone, it was more classified than the Manhattan Project,
Wow.
which was
And that was a
building.
big thing. That was a big project. So
Yep. So, all right,
we'll talk. We can talk about
I'm
that
gonna
next
go.
time. But thank
You
you,
take
and
care.
you have a good night. And thanks to
Will do.
everybody at Patreon for supporting us. And I will talk to you all on Monday.
I'll
All
be
right,
back.
I'm gonna hit the end button now because I
All
don't
right.
have any really cool.
Adios.
All right, bye. And